Hello, this is Opal Singleton of Exploited Crimes and Technology. We come to you every Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock right here on AM 590, The Answer. Well, our organization is called Million Kids. A Million Kids sponsors this show, Exploited Crimes and Technology. We've been on the air going on 8 years now. I was thinking about that the other day when I had some time to myself, and I thought, holy cow, it's hard to believe that this has really lasted that long. I remember when I first started contemplating using the media of radio, and thinking how important it is to educate the public about things like human trafficking, sex and labor trafficking, and social media exploitation. And that is the purpose of the show. The show is brought to you by an organization of which I'm the president called millionkids.org. And we have, for the past 12 years, served as the training and outreach coordinator for the Riverside County Anti-Human Trafficking Task Force. Now, we do a lot more than Riverside County. We work throughout the Inland Empire, but honestly, we do a lot across the nation. I don't travel as much as I used to. I do a lot more webinars now. It's much more cheaper and more efficient, and a way to educate a lot more people about the issues that are important. So today, one of the things I wanted to share with you is basically how much human trafficking has changed since we started the show, and how much different it is today and going forward, because there have been significant amount of changes of how human trafficking looks in the Inland Empire and across California. First of all, I want to share with you a case. This is on our website. If you want to get a lot more education about human trafficking and social media exploitation, follow Million Kids at millionkids.org. We won't pound you too much for money. We are a nonprofit, and we greatly, greatly appreciate your financial support. Without you, quite frankly, we wouldn't be here. But it is a great way to keep yourself educated about all the things that are happening. So we have millionkids.org that you can sign up for, or if you're on Facebook, you might want to go to Million Kids Supporters and ask to join. That is a closed site. There's about 500 people on that, and I use that to train the trainer. So if you're an educator, if you're in social services, or maybe you're just a grandparent that wants to stay current, you can do that by going to Million Kids Supporters and ask to join. Be sure and alert your notifications so you will be notified when we do a posting on there. So the headline for this particular story came out this past week, and it says 911 texting helps save 17-year-old human trafficking victim in California. Now, that got my attention because I remember the days in 2012 and 13 and 14 that we were just trying to understand what human trafficking looked like and how to educate potential victims on how to ask for help. And so to see this, 10 years later, that it works, that you can text a 911 and somebody will believe you. So the girl was trafficked from her home in Mexico. So the first thing you're going to learn right here is that girls are being brought in from Mexico, and they are being put out for trafficking. So in many cases, it's our own kids that are U.S. citizens right here in the U.S., that in other cases, they are being brought in because we have an open border. In this case, she had been brought in from Mexico 2 months earlier, and this is up in Ventura County. The sheriff's office was able to rescue her using a little-known feature of 911, and that is texting to ask for help. Sheriff officials said the 17-year-old girl was being held against her will in a remote rural community of Casita Springs. Countrywide, we're dealing with human trafficking, and we're not immune to it in Ventura County, according to the sheriff there, Sheriff Jim Freihoff. After receiving a text from the girl around 3 a.m. in the morning, the dispatchers were able to guide the deputies to her location within minutes. So everything is much more sophisticated, thank you to the technology. And she was able to ask for help, and someone showed up. I can't tell you how important that is in cases of human trafficking, because 5, 8 years ago, people, first of all, you would never have texted 911. And number two is, when you're asking for help for human trafficking, will they believe you? In this case, she was trafficked from her home in Mexico 2 months prior, and she was being evaluated and being assisted in this case. So the defendants in this case, a 31-year-old Geraldo Cruz, is now facing a slew of charges. Authorities say the text from the girl demonstrated the importance of 911 texting option. So I want you to know that that works, that you can report even if you can't go in and have a conversation. The girl, who doesn't speak English, texted in Spanish, which the system quickly translated into English for the dispatcher. When the dispatcher responded to her, the message was translated from Spanish to English. They immediately sent out the law enforcement personnel. It was a silent communication in there. So they're saying if you have a situation where someone has a prowler in their house, you can send a text message and give updates and things like that without alerting someone to your presence in that case. Now, that triggered me to kind of share with you how much human trafficking and human trafficking victimization has changed right here in California. So to give you a little background, I got started with this at 2010, so 14 years. I was actually working overseas for a portion of the time prior to that. And in 2010, I met the Riverside County Sheriff Department, where they were forming this human trafficking task force. And I look back now and think how naive we all were, but we all waded in, rolled up our sleeves, and in my case, I put in tens of thousands of hours of research, not just Riverside County, but I wanted to understand it clear across the nation. And I began then to take all that research and become a post-certified law enforcement trainer. That stands for Peace Officers Standardized Training. Not many civilians are allowed that opportunity, but I had a great relationship with law enforcement, and they allowed that to happen. One of the things that was very important to me is that we got the facts. And something as emotionally disturbing as human trafficking is, there's all kinds of claims and numbers thrown out there and all kinds of melodrama. I'm not into melodrama myself. I want to know the details. I want to know the facts, and I want to figure out solutions. And this radio show was one of those efforts to do that, because in many cases, people you may know may be being brought in to sex or labor trafficking. And you need to know the reality of it and what you can do about it and what you should do about it and what you should not do about it. Human trafficking is an egregious crime. I mean, it is violent, it is life-changing, it is something that you don't want to get your life on the line for if you can help it. I always say I don't want grandma down at the motel taking on the cartel. Okay, we can't have that. But what we can do is educate even grandma about how this works and what to watch for and how to go about reporting it in order to be able to stop somebody. So when I first got involved in this, what we were seeing was young girls in schools, and they were often recruited by gang girls. These are gangs that use their girls, putting them in school to recruit kids into doing something crazy, if you will, or taking a chance, or falling in love with some guy, or just wanting to do a lark, or thinking they're going to make some very quick money without a whole lot of effort. all of those kinds of potential victims are people that can be coerced into committing crimes of sex trafficking. And so usually it starts out as a relationship. So many people think that, they're going to come along and kidnap you off the street. Well, I'm not going to say that never ever happens. I have seen a few cases like that. But the majority of the time, the young girl especially wades into what she thinks is going to be an exciting relationship where someone's going to care about her. My name is Opal Singleton. It is break time, so stay with us. We'll be right back. Hello, this is Opal Singleton of Exploited Crimes and Technology. Hey, let me tell you about my favorite restaurant in Riverside, Monarch Asian Bistro. The atmosphere and decor are simply stunning. The service is great too. It's a wonderful environment for a romantic dinner or a family get-together. It's not just another Chinese restaurant. The Monarch Asian Bistro is upscale and it serves Thai food as well as unique Asian-inspired dishes that are just fabulous. My favorite is the pad see ew beef. My husband likes the orange chicken, and the Chinese chicken salad is always great. Our friends sometimes order the Emperor's Choice or Monarch steak. It is my favorite go-to place. Go ahead and give it a try. It's Monarch Bistro in Riverside, Canyon Crest Town Center next to Ralph's. They are open for lunch and dinner every day but Tuesday. Go ahead, give it a try. You're going to love it.
Real estate sales in the Inland Empire are really hot. Sean and Colleen at Caldwell Banker Armstrong Properties in Riverside are proud to sponsor this show. They are the best in the Inland Empire. They're fair, honest, creative, and they care about you and your situation. If you're in the market to buy or sell a home, call Sean and Colleen at 951-529-4066.
Hello, this is Opal Singleton of MillionKids.org. I believe the four most powerful words on earth are I believe in you. So we created a challenge coin that says, I believe in you on one side and stand tall, you are loved on the other side. This one-of-a-kind challenge coin is a perfect gift for birthdays, anniversaries, graduation, Christmas presents, or just an anytime gift for someone you love. What a powerful message for a parent or a grandparent to give to a young person. This 2-inch coin is made of polished gold. It's striking to look at, and it is priceless to hold. It is packaged in a beautiful black velvet gift box. What a great way to leave a legacy of love that will last forever. To purchase this coin, go to millionkids.org/gallery. Each coin is $25. Go to millionkids.org/gallery to purchase and give a legacy of love.
AM 590, The Answer.
Hello and welcome back to Exploited Crimes and Technology. We are talking about how the crime of human trafficking, especially sex trafficking, has changed in California, especially over the last 14 years since I have been combating it. So there is all kinds of trafficking now, and this is changing at the speed of light. It's changing because we have open borders. It's changing because we're bringing in a lot of young people that owe money to the cartel or coyotes. It's changing because gangs are changing. They're now aligned with foreign national cartels. It's changing because we also have a lot of homeless people, and a homeless woman is a trafficked woman. And it is changing because we have a lot of people in our communities now that literally are at risk of being trafficked by some foreign element that we wouldn't have had before. So as I was sharing before the break, this kind of all started way back when in about 2012. And we realized at that point it was mostly vulnerable young girls. Now, occasionally you get a guy, occasionally you'll have somebody that's a trans or gay that gets trafficked. But the majority of victims in Riverside County in Southern California are young girls. And these are girls that, kind of have a hole in their heart, if you will. They're looking out for somebody else to recognize them and think they're cute and be able to come into their life and fulfill all of their dreams. I wrote a book about this. It's older now, but it's still very, very valid. It's called Seduced, I almost forgot the name of my own book, Seduce, the Grooming of America's Teenagers. And it really starts out as a relationship. This girl meets someone at the mall, or they may meet somebody online. That is very, very common, especially in these chat rooms and hookup rooms. And now think about how much technology's changed. Almost all those chat rooms and hookup rooms have geolocation software on them. So they're meeting up online, and the guy says, "Hey, we're only 4 miles apart. Meet me at the mall." And she's already got a fantasy relationship going. This is the reason why you get things like romance scams. Because even middle-aged women and yeah, your grandma and grandpa, they get lonely and they go online and they go on the dating sites, and it is really easy to get a fantasy going. And these folks, the pimps and the predators that live on all these dating sites, they're really skilled at making you all excited and bringing up a lot of drama in your life. And wow, nobody's ever talked to me this way before. And this guy thinks I'm really, really hot. And my ex-husband thought I was a creep. And it just goes like that. And we're all easy to be seduced because pat you on the head and we'll follow you anywhere, any kind of thing. So that's usually how it starts. Now, it can also start with a girlfriend, where gangs will use their girlfriends to recruit these girls. They may, some signs that a young person might be starting to be groomed, and this word is called groomed out there. And anybody can be groomed, by the way. That is not particular to any particular race or nationality or sexual preference. Anybody can be groomed. They start telling you everything you want to hear. And you're like a puppy dog sitting there with your ears perked up, and you can't wait to hear more of it. And they understand that completely. Your child may suddenly start coming home with new bling, or starting to hang out less at home and more with other people. They may be absolutely compulsively texting back and forth to someone who is literally giving them excitement in their life. And this is a very difficult thing for parents, because you're over here going, this isn't good, what's going on here? And you're saying things like, you're grounded, clean up your room. And this guy's over here saying, hey, baby, you're hot, and I'm going to take care of you. One of the things to teach your children, especially your young daughters, is if they're looking for someone to take care of them, they are going to be easily groomed, because trust me, all over the world, predators and pedophiles get that, and they know how to seduce these kids that are looking for love in all the wrong places. I share with kids, if you need somebody to take care of you, you're vulnerable. Learn to take care of yourself. That means that you can meet someone one-on-one in a relationship and be able to set boundaries and not have to wait on somebody to approve of you in order for you to be able to be acceptable. So that's exactly how it starts. And the first thing you know, they will remove them from their area. Suddenly, this girl disappears. And this is the reason why Million Kids runs Million Kids Missing Kids. If you sign up for our website or for our e-blasts, you will see about twice a week we have missing kids. And we do that to support the parents. Think about this. Your kids suddenly taken up with some new guy. They change the way they dress. They change the way they talk. And then poof, they're gone. And the parent is just out of their mind about, where is this kid? How do I get them back? How do I keep them safe? And like that. And so what happens is that we work with various police departments. When you file a police report, if your child is missing, you can then contact Million Kids and fill out the form, and we will send out a missing kids flyer. And we would ask you, that is one of the things you, the public, can do to help us, is sign up for these and distribute them when they come out. If you belong to a church, make sure it goes on the church newsletter or the distribution line. If you're a seroptimist or sorority or Rotary, distribute those flyers so that we can help find those kids. I don't think there's anything in the world that is more frightening for a parent than to have their young kid missing. And they don't know if they're here or in Las Vegas or Los Angeles or Tijuana. And who are they with and what is happening to them? And can they ask for help and get free? Because you, as a parent, would certainly go after them. But this is some of the challenge of it. These, especially pimps, will immediately remove you from the area. And then the next thing is they will change your life forever as a kid, as a young person. And this can happen whether you're 22, 28, or 14. And they will abuse you and take a lot of photos of that and began to use that out on these ads. And you can never get those photos back. So that changes the mindset of the victim. The victim suddenly sees themselves as broken and they can't come home. One of the most important conversations to have with your child is, even if you make mistakes, I'm going to love you. And there is no such thing as being so damaged you can't come home. Now, we all make mistakes, but there isn't such a thing as damaged goods. That is how they keep these kids enslaved. They do the same thing on sextortion, by the way. You send a photo, they start to blackmail you, and they will tell you this has gone out all over the world, your life has changed, and you must send us money, and you will never get that photo back, and your life is destroyed. We all make mistakes, but we need to start to learn to look differently at those mistakes and let your kid know if something happens to you, regardless, you're going to be there, and you would hope that they would reach out and ask for help and be able to help them. This is exactly how it normally starts, as they get our kids, our regular kids, and then they get themselves in a mess. And these kids begin to think they can't come home. You know, they don't know where they are. The pimp or whoever it is they run off with is threatening them. They're threatening to hurt their family. They're threatening to hurt them. And it gets very violent. It becomes like domestic violence. You know, a lot of women keep blaming themselves for staying in a relationship that's abusive. And they say to themselves, well, I'll be better. I'll try harder. I won't make him mad this time. And they will put the blame on themselves in a hopes of getting control of the situation. But just the opposite should be true. We know, having worked with domestic violence and human trafficking, the most important thing you can do is, if you're around someone who is violent with you or making threats or trying to control you with violence, the best thing to do is text 911 and ask for help, okay? Or find a way to get away and get out and ask for help. Do not go back. If that going back is one of the most dangerous places on earth for someone that is being violated. But that's how sex trafficking normally operates here in California. But it is changing dramatically because now California has open borders. And we have a lot of people coming in from foreign countries that are being exploited and exploited for sex right here in our community. And we need to learn to recognize it and assist. This is Opal Singleton. It's break time. Be right back.
Societal Shift, A World Without Borders and a Home Without Walls. This is the most important book you will read this year, especially if you have children or grandchildren. We are living at the most important time in all of history. In 2020, the entire world will be connected by internet, more than 6 billion people coming together. Technology will provide many great advantages for our kids, but a world without borders for our kids is also a world without borders for pimps, predators, pedophiles, cartels, and organized crime. It is a home without walls because 87% of the kids sleep with their phone. It is the greatest societal experiment of all time. Our kids are technology geniuses, and their parents are technophobic. Some are techno-impotent. New apps come with no warnings on how a predator will use them against our kids. Advancing technologies like encrypted messaging, vaporware, artificial intelligence, cryptocurrency, and the dark net will challenge law enforcement, teachers, and parents to keep kids safe. Recent research states that 9,000 kids a day are being blackmailed with a naked photo, and 58% will meet their predator. It is indeed a societal shift, and one in which most parents are unprepared. If you are a parent or grandparent, teacher, counselor, or social worker, please take time to read Societal Shift. Only $18.99 plus $6 shipping. Order today at millionkids.org. That's millionkids, millionkids.org. It'll be the greatest gift you can give your family and yourself. Order Societal Shift today. Million Kids takes checks and credit cards. Opal Singleton, the author, will personally sign the book and send it to you. Again, go to millionkids.org and order Societal Shift today. Join Million Kids. Keep our kids safe from predators.
Hello and welcome back to Exploited Crimes and Technology. This is Opal Singleton, and we are talking about the many faces now, the many ways that sex trafficking has changed in California just in the last 2 to 3 years, and it has changed absolutely dramatically. There are three major things that are, let's say, events that are causing this kind of change. Number one is technology. We're able to communicate. We have encryption. Gangs and cartels go into chat rooms and recruit people. The gangs work together using encryption that can't be broken. And on top of it, they have a way of reaching out to especially our young people now, making everything seem exciting, like on dating sites and hookup sites and chat rooms of all kinds, and they will recruit our kids, and they can recruit a child that's the closest to them because they have geolocation software. We also have open borders. That means that somewhere, depending on which news broadcast you're listening to, somewhere between 8 and 13 million people have crossed our border without documentation. We don't really know what that answer is, and I always muse myself when they talk about the number of gotaways, because I'm saying, well, if you can count them, can't you catch them? But then again, I'm opinionated on that subject. Anyway, but we do have open borders, and some of the people, I'm not going to say all of them, but some of them owe money and they are being exploited. I was looking at an article that came out just a couple days ago. Alleged Mexican cartel leader was arrested in the U.S. Then it caught my attention because one of the paragraphs is said in there, his name was Rojas Vargas, and they're saying when the undocumented immigrants arrive, they will allegedly required to work off between $5,000 and $11,000 that they owed this individual. In this case, they were forced into selling drugs and doing drug trafficking. But we know that in some cases, they're forced into sex trafficking. So this open border has changed just about everything. So what you're seeing is a lot of people that come in and they normally would never engage in commercial sex, but they are not given the opportunity to say no. If they are being held and being held in your community even, and drop houses and stash houses. By the way, I often talk about that. I train code enforcement and fire departments. Know your neighborhood. Know everybody on your block. If you have rental houses on your block, know the landlord. Have their phone number. Ask them if they would contact you when they rent that house. And, keep an eye on it. Now, you don't have to be rude. You don't have to get in their face. You don't have to be obnoxious, but keep a general eye out. Did somebody move into a house recently and they don't have the normal activity that's going on? Suddenly the windows are closed off, or the doors are shut, or people coming and going late at night, or maybe a lot of men coming and going. And it doesn't look like a normal family house. Find out who's in there. Do not get yourself involved. This is very, very important. But if you see something suspicious, there is a non-emergency number at law enforcement that you can contact. And you just say, I'm very suspicious. There's a lot of male activity going on, and they don't seem to be living in the house. So pay attention in there to see, could it be an illegal pot grow? Could it be a place where migrants are being stored until they come up with more money? Could it be a residential brothel that is set up so that people are being forced into sex and they're making the money to pay the coyote in that case? So pay attention to that. The other major factor that is changing trafficking in California, and you've heard me talk about this ad nauseum, I know, is SB 357, which says law enforcement can no longer intervene if you're lurching to solicit for street prostitution. SB 357, if you want to look that up, it's a California law. And so what is happening is now that law enforcement cannot intervene, is pimps and predators from all across the nation and even other countries like Russia and China and Taiwan are bringing in girls to make money on our streets because this law says that law enforcement cannot intervene. There were 2 elementary schools up in Oakland that literally had to close down because the kids could not get through the line of people out there soliciting their services to make money. And this is going on all over the state. So a lot of this is changing. And suddenly you start to have a lot of massage parlors in your neighborhood. Now, I'm not against a good massage. Okay, I've been known to get them myself. But I'm very choosy where I go because when I go to a massage parlor, I want to make sure they're legitimate. Do they have a regular list of services? Illegitimate massage parlors are often very closed off. They have the windows and doors closed. Well, I get it. People are in there getting massaged and they're not always dressed. But these are like really closed off, okay? And the entrance is usually on the side or the back. They'll have really odd hours where they have a lot of late night activity coming and going. They may have a heavy male trafficking kind of thing going later at night. A lot more of the customers are male. They won't have the normal service menus like if you go to a regular massage place, they have a whole list you can look at and pick and choose and decide what you want to buy. But in these other types, a lot of times what is happening are people from China are being brought in. They often come in on tourist visas and work visas or student visas. They have no intention of being engaging in this kind of business, but once they're here, they're forced into it. And that is being done by organized crime all over. And they can do that because the change of the law and the easy access now to get into our country. So you may see people from China or Taiwan or Vietnam or Cambodia or Laotian people. You may see Eastern European, that's very common, or they may be coming up from South America. We had a case like that right here in Colton in the Inland Empire, where they were bringing in 14-year-old girls from south of the border and putting them into commercial sex. They were being, the fronts were skincare places and massage places, and all that money is being laundered back to the Mexican cartels. So it isn't just our kids anymore now that we have an open border. And we have a change of law, and now we also have all this technology that facilitates the hookup, okay? So it's a complete change in the way that sex trafficking is taking place within California. So where it started out being mostly our kids, what we're now seeing is a lot of times they are people who are vulnerable to someone that they owe money to, and they are being put into forced sexual services. Every now and then you'll find one in a place of business like a cantina that operates mostly late at night, mostly male clientele. They may have an area that is not easy to get in and out of, and they will be setting that up. So I would encourage you that if you see any of this kind of thing, that you would actually go to your non-emergency 911 and report it. Don't dial 911 unless it is an emergency. If you see somebody in big trouble, don't be afraid to dial 911. But the Sheriff Department, Riverside County Sheriff, San Bernardino Sheriff, they all have non-emergency reporting numbers. All of your Riverside PD, Hemet, San Jacinto, all those police departments also have non-emergency reporting. And I would highly encourage you to take notes, but don't get yourself involved. This is serious business. People get all excited about combating human trafficking, and I don't blame you. I do it myself, okay? I am here, and that's the reason I am here, and my organization is to train you on how to do this in the best way possible, in a way that's totally safe for yourself, but also protects your community. I do believe it's important to understand how all of this works. Number one, to protect our own kids and make sure that we prepare them in a way that they won't fall prey to it, but also to take a look around our neighborhoods and our businesses and take note. If you see a business that you think is not a legitimate business, take note as to why it is not, and don't be afraid to report it. If you see a house that doesn't look like a normal living activity, it is okay to take note and put it on a non-emergency number. It's break time. This is Opal Singleton. We'll be right back. Hello, this is Opal Singleton of Exploited, Crimes and Technology. I want to tell you about a book I wrote called Seduced, The Grooming of America's Teenagers. It's all about how predators access, groom, recruit, and exploit our young people using social media, online gaming, video chat rooms. Technology is changing at the speed of light, and we have to understand how to keep our kids safe from predators. So you can get this book by going to www.millionkids.org. It's $16. I'll sign it and I'll ship it to you personally. We hope that you will order this book, educate yourself about how to keep our kids safe in this day of changing technology. Join us each Saturday for our radio show at Exploited, Crimes and Technology at 3 o'clock on AM 590. The Answer.
Custom Service Systems, a proud supporter of Million Kids, is a family-owned and operated commercial cleaning company servicing the Inland Empire and surrounding areas since 1974. CSS takes pride in their ability to maintain the business facilities they serve and their long-lasting relationships with their valued clients. CSS provides a variety of cleaning systems customized to client needs, including deep cleaning and disinfectant to be COVID-19 compliant. From basic office cleaning to windows and floors, CSS will clean up your mess so you don't have to stress. Custom Service Systems cares about families and communities and wants to give back. Custom Service Systems are proud supporters of Million Kids to keep kids safe from predators. If you need the best cleaning services for your business or corporation, contact Custom Service Systems at cssclean.com. Again, cssclean.com, or call 951-781-9345. That's 951-781-9345. You will know you found the best. Custom Service Systems.
Hello, this is Opal Singleton of Exploited Crimes and Technology. Let me tell you about my friend Doris Anderson at Remax Realty in Upland. She is amazing. She's kind, she's patient, but she listens. And she's informed, and she will help you with your real estate transaction in a way that works for you. Doris, in full disclosure, often supports the work of Million Kids because she cares about young people. But she knows how to analyze a market, how to market a property, and how to find just the right transaction for both buyers and sellers. If you're looking to buy or sell real estate or invest in income property, contact Doris Anderson at Remax Realty 951-733-8899. That's 951-733-8899. 951-733-8899.
AM 590. The Answer.
Hello and welcome back to Exploited Crimes and Technology. My name is Opal Singleton, and we are talking about how much human trafficking has changed even in the last 10 years throughout California. Some of it is because of the law that we talk about, which now makes it more difficult to go in and investigate these cases. And many of these cases are extremely complex. If you get a foreign national human trafficking case, that's when someone from a foreign country is brought into the U.S. They may have been brought in legally. I mean, we're all concentrating on the open border, but quite frankly, many of these people are brought in on work visas and student visas, and they have no idea what is about to happen to them. And when they get here, they come from poor countries. They have no way to fight back. They often don't speak the language. The family back home is thinking they're here going to school or having a job and that everything's great. They have no idea that they're over here being held in some particular kind of business being moved around. The other way that trafficking has changed a lot, and that is related to the illegal pot grows. It was an interesting thing when California legalized marijuana and pot, and that has happened so much across the nation. And what we see is it creates an underground economy. Now, many of you would think that it's just the opposite, that it isn't, if you legalized it, you wouldn't have the underground economy. But it's so heavily regulated for the legitimate growers that there is an entire market all throughout the state of California for illegal pot grows. And sometimes these are taking place right in tract houses, right in your neighborhood. I have several videos where the sheriff department, and I know he's taken a lot of heat these days, but he's been very effective at going after these kinds of things. Because here you are living in a nice tract neighborhood, raising your children, and there's a house next to you that you just don't think is right. People don't come and go like normal. The shades are drawn. When they do come, it's late at night. They don't speak your language. They don't talk to you. Pay attention to that kind of thing. Now, it can also take place out in a more rural setting. I can't say that word, by the way. More country setting. Let's try that. Anyway, where they're out in a remote facility, maybe an outback house or empty trailer and that kind of thing. So illegal pot grows can also take place a lot of different ways in your community. The reason I bring this up is they often traffic people from foreign countries, especially from China and Southeast Asia, to be part of these illegal pot grows. Sometimes they're Laotian, sometimes they're Taiwanese, or they're Vietnamese or Cambodian, and they're brought in and they're put out on remote areas to do this kind of thing. So pay attention to that. If you see that, your best situation is not to get yourself out there and involved, because one more time, this is way above your pay grade and so is mine. But pay attention and don't be afraid to report it. Because what we see, think about it, if you're brought in from, let's say you're a Laotian and you're doing agriculture work out there in an area that's so remote it has to be looked at by a drone, you most likely are not being treated right or being paid, and you could be being physically violated along with it, with threats to your family. That is called trafficking, and we need to pay attention to it. So there's a lot of things that are changing in our community. It's an interesting thing that's taking place, because we see all of the conversations about the open border. What we really don't see is the way it's permeating our communities and changing everything around us. Now, I'm going to tell you that I know a lot of people that are not documented, and they're very, very fine people. The problem of it is when you have 10 million people coming in from all over the world, you don't know which ones are the good guys and which ones are the bad guys. And that's the reason why most countries have a strong immigration system, so they can do background checks and vet the people that are going to contribute to their society and not harm their society. But at the same time that's happening, some of those people get victimized once they're here. And that is important. Nobody should ever be exploited, whether or not they're documented or not documented. And we need to pay attention to that because people get themselves in situations they don't know how to get out of, and they need to be able to ask for help. So I was really excited when I saw this article that I read to you when I first started the conversation about 911 texting. That's cool that you can do that now. Victims of human trafficking are often in very precarious situations, very potentially violent situations. They can't always get free and they can't always ask for help. And it is important for us to continue to put out all the reporting numbers and like that. And also for people to know if you get in trouble, you can text to 911. And I'm very proud of this young lady. She was not from our country, but she was being violated in our country when she got here. And somehow she got the device to ask for help, and the law enforcement responded. They just don't get enough recognition, in my opinion. If we didn't have law enforcement, our lives would be a whole lot more difficult. So with that, I want to thank you for listening to this show and for sharing with us and caring about these matters. If you're listening to this show, you most likely care, and we appreciate that. If you are willing and able to support our work financially, I would surely appreciate that. We have been doing this 14 years, and we are not a big organization, but we are very effective. We cover a lot of ground, and we do a huge amount of prevention and intervention training. If you want to support our organization, you can do that by going to Million Kids, MILLION, millionkids.org. We are a public benefit 501c3 nonprofit that's been around for 14 years. We have a good Guide Star rating. We are in good standing everywhere that we need to be. And we are dedicated to working, especially in the Inland Empire, working to support foster kids, but really also runaway and missing kids, supporting law enforcement and educating the public so that they understand. And one of the reasons that we do this is because this is such a fast changing thing. With open borders, our lives have changed dramatically, not just because of the fact that we have a lot of people in here that we don't know who they are, but some of those people are being violated right here in our own community. And we need to be able to set it up so they can ask for help. We also need to not forget to educate our kids. You know, a kid that's in need of love and approval and attention and has some sort of deficit going on in their emotional situation, they are extremely vulnerable. And you cannot have enough conversations about this, in my opinion. They need to understand how quickly their life can change, and more important, how much we're willing to do so that they understand not to get themselves caught up in it. And that is a lot of what we do in the education factor. So my name is Opal Singleton. This show is brought to you by millionkids.org. We are the training and outreach coordinator, along with some others, at the Riverside County Anti-Human Trafficking Task Force. I want to give a big shout out to that task force. I've been with them 14 years, and this is a group of men and women, and yes, women, some of the finest women you would ever believe. And they go out there, they talk to the kids that have gotten themselves out in this mess and start to give them avenues that they can get out and they can ask for help and they can escape the violence that they never intended to be in, but they find themselves in there. So I believe we have the finest human trafficking task force in the nation. It is led by Sheriff Chad Bianco, is supported by the RSET unit out of DA Hestron's office and the Riverside County Child Exploitation Team. And these are people who go out and put their lives on the line day and night, doing what they need to do to be able to protect our kids and keep our families safe. And that is not an easy job. And it got a whole lot more difficult over the last 10 years with technology, changes in legislation, and of course the challenge with the open borders. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing this with everybody. You can contact me at opal, OPAL, at millionkids.org. See you next Saturday at 3 o'clock right here on AM 590, The Answer.
This message is all about Million Kids, the organization that helps locate missing kids throughout Southern California and educates to keep kids safe from predators. Million Kids educates school administrators, teachers, parents, and teenagers how predators identify a potential victim and the methods they use to recruit innocent kids. BMW of Riverside is a proud supporter of Million Kids. Visit BMW of Riverside at the Adams Street exit off the 91 freeway or click bmwofriverside.com.